Okay, why don't we get started with our presentation as there are traditions. We are honored to have Michael Allen Ross, who is an exquisite photographer. You've seen his work, I'm sure, in numerous magazines. He's also been a partner of Tom Carter on the cross-continental search for barn finds, as well as the rock and roll garages with the special cars that a lot of the rock and rollers have at their disposal. So he's got a tremendous history behind him. Just amazing photographs. When you see some of these of the Porsches, you just get floored with the eye that Mike has. Cannot be compared to AI, and I hope to talk a little bit about how AI is kind of encroaching on things. Doesn't hold a candle to the real thing. So without further ado, also he's brought along some books, some copies of the book Porsche Outlaws for $55. So absolutely pick up a copy of that on your way out. Let me introduce you, Michael Allen Ross. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Steve and I have a history together, apparently. Yes, we've been to Bonneville together. I had the opportunity to photograph that amazing gyronaut yeah, thanks. That was a wonderful, wonderful day. So we've got a little history, but it's great to be here. I hear this is quite a famous place. A lot of people have been here. I used to be a member of the Madison Avenue Sports Car Driving and Chowder Society in Manhattan when I lived on the East Coast. It's kind of a version of that, as far as I understand. Great to see some cool cars out in the parking lot today. Saw some cool outlaws out there. And some of you may know me, some of you may be tired of me at this point, and some of you may not know who the heck this guy is in front of you right now. So let's take a little moment. This is the book that I created, and this came about, Stephen mentioned Tom Cotter. I've had the pleasure of driving thousands and thousands of miles with Tom Cotter, the entire length of Route 66 in a 39 Ford Woody. We've done, in 17, we did a cross country in a 27 Ford Model T on the Lincoln Highway from Times Square to the Legion of Honor in San Francisco. We did a book called Rocking Garages, all on famous musicians with their cars and motorcycles. And just to cut it short a little bit, in 22, we did a trip from Key West, Florida, all the way to somewhere in Alaska, all the way up to the top there, Dead Horse, Alaska. 6 weeks on the road in a brand new Bronco. Ford gave us a Bronco, and Airstream gave us their little base camp Airstream. Two guys spending way too much time with each other, shoulder to shoulder and butt to butt for way too many miles. But boy, do we have some stories. And maybe I'll come back and talk about that next time I come here, because it is really, really a great opportunity. If you get out there and take a road trip and just take the time to stop in a nice little place, eat the local food, and as Tom and I say, order the pie. Because there's something about somebody in the back room probably baked that this morning. So take the time and enjoy it. So after doing all these books, the publisher, Motor Books, turns to me and says, Michael, we're thinking about doing a book on Porsche Outlaws. What do you think? I said, that's a great idea. Do you think we can rely on you for some photography? We hope you can help us out. I said, well, anything I could do, let's do it. I hang up the phone. Tom Cotter calls me, hey, what's going on? I said, well, I just got this call and we're going to do this thing. He goes, what? He goes, no. You call them back right now and you tell them that that's your book. I go, well, Tom, I've written a few articles for things like that, but I've never written a book. He says, no. You're a hot rodder. You know Porsches. You've been photographing for 3 decades. You're an outlaw Porsche guy. This is your book. Well, apparently I talked him into it. I sent them a couple of copies of things that I had written. They knew my photography, but I had to come up with something different to convince them that I knew what I was talking about. Oh, by the way, Hurley Hayward wrote the foreword. How cool is that? Yeah, Hurley. Now, Hurley's a hot rodder, folks. He's an outlaw. He's got an Emery Outlaw car. I hate to tell you that. He's the greatest ambassador for the brand, but at the same time, he is an outlaw. And I think we've got, based on what I saw out there, I think we've got quite a few outlaws in here. So, this is the theme. The question is, what's different about the way I'm going to approach this book that someone else that's already bidded on it isn't? The question came up, who built the first Porsche Outlaw? And I sat back, and I thought about that for a while. So in my sample chapter, I explained to Motorbooks my thought process on what the whole outlaw thing is about. And I had the guts to tell them that the very first Porsche Outlaw is Porsche number 001. Now that may tick off a lot of people. That may aggravate a lot of people. These shots I did back in 98, I think. A father and son put a car together out of spare parts in a barn. If that happened in Costa Mesa, you call it hot rodding. Right? Am I right? So what's the difference? And I said the entire brand, here they are. By the way, I did all the photography except some things that were donated by the Porsche Archive. Porsche Archive was very happy to help me out with some stuff. Concept driveway. The entire Porsche brand is built off of a hot rodders mentality. Think about it. The cars that they've created, the way these things become, oh, there's the next best great thing that I can't have. Well, things from every one of those things trickles down and ends up in your driveway. And it's been going on for decades. 550s, 904s, 911R. You think that those things, the entire R group, all those outlaws, everything wanted to be a 911R. To the point where Porsche actually printed a manual, and you could buy anything from a 911R from the parts department. They saw it, they were like, oh, these people are crazy. Yeah, well, why not? I'll sell you those spots. GT1, 73Rs, 918, it just goes on and on. They come up with these crazy things, and aren't we lucky that they trickle down and things that were developed in these types of vehicles end up in our driveway, and we get to drive it to lunch. Carrera GT, 959. You think about a 9.5, in a Carrera GT, we've got this V10 sitting around here, what are we going to do with it? Put it in a car. Okay, someone will buy it. One just went for, what was it, $6 million the other day? They were $448,000, they had 448 horsepower. And now they're over $6 million. The 959, what car did that become? Well, when you look at the technology in it, it basically became your 2001 911 Turbo. Everything that was in that car kind of trickled down. Of course, it was, we can debate that a lot of things that were left out. So once we got that out of the way and they said, yes, you're going to do this book, now I had to get busy. I had to find other things. Okay, they're doing outlaws, but what's the other first outlaw? What's the one that everyone, well, you know, Rod Emery, you know, Harry Emery, blah, blah, blah. I'm going, no, I've seen another car. I know about another car. And I searched and I found this car in LA. The car had disappeared for a long time, for 40 years, and then it was restored and it was sold at Amelia Island for $400,000. You guys didn't even know what they bought. It was built by Dean Jeffries in 1957. There's a long story about how he got this car from a young kid who came and said, I don't like your car. Oh, well, I like your car. And they switched cars. Turned out Dean ended up with a 4-cam Carrera, and the kid drove off with his regular 356 coupe. His father came up, he was really ticked off about it, but Dean said, I'm sorry, the car's mine. And he proceeded to do a lot of things to the car. This is how I found the car in Los Angeles. I went to the owner and said, "Wow, you can shoot it here, Mike." I'm like, "No, this is not what I do. I can't shoot it. It wasn't running. It was jacked up. It's surrounded by micro cars all around it." No, you can shoot it here. I said, "Listen, I'll be back in a couple of days. I'm going to do some location scouting. We'll find the right place to shoot the car." He says, "That's not going to work." So what do you mean? He says, 4 o'clock, that car goes into the Peterson Museum. It's going to be there for a year. Well, that's a little bit of a problem. And that's when things click into gear. Because you can be as good as you can possibly be at anything in the world. But what you need is a network, and you need friends. So I sent out an SOS call. I said, "Mayday, Mayday, I need help. Are you in town?" Gentleman calls me back. "What do you need, baby?" I said, "Well, I need the roof of the Peterson at 3 o'clock. I'll see what I can do." Phone rings again. "This is Mary Beth. Who are you? And I'm supposed to do?" "Well, 3 o'clock. We got it there between rainstorms. It was pouring rain, but in typical LA fashion, it poured, and then the sun came out, and we literally drove it right to the Peterson Museum. Pulled it up onto everybody just parted the ways, the elevator on the side, brought it all the way to the roof, and we had this perfect lake up there of water. And everybody said, "Well, we should do this." I was like, "Everyone, please, walk away. I've got 15 minutes. Because if you can see the sky beyond me, I'm looking at my radar on my phone, and I'm going, that's another storm. It's gonna start pouring in 15 minutes. And I ran my tail off to photograph this car up there. And we got it done. But you notice what he did. The Porsche community did not love this. It ended up on several hot rod magazines and things like that. But the Porsche community was like, "What are you doing? This is an abomination." And the car disappeared for a long time. It was found in a used car lot in Florida. Wow. But you can see things here that he took. He was working at George Barris's at the time, and in George Barris's was a 300 SL that they were doing a custom paint job on. Notice the cues he took from the 300 SL. The tail lamps. It's a 300 SL. That he did. They aren't real. They did the wrong thing. They don't say Mercedes on. Notice what he did with the vent, which is right at the top of the window there. Other little things. There's so many little things around this car. I could do an entire demonstration about that car, but we don't have time for that. But what I was running out of time. I was going crazy. So it started to spit rain, and I said, the elevator's over here. There's a little overhang that comes out from the elevator. We slid the car under the overhang, and I ran around and I documented the engine, and this, that, and the other thing. And I threw my hands up in the air and I go, "I'm done. Take it down to the museum. I'm done. I got it." He goes, owner walks over and goes, "You got it?" I go, "Yeah." "Okay." And I'm panting. My heart is racing. He goes, I just have one question." I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Who the hell are you?" And I said, "I'm just a guy with a camera with a couple friends." Look at this. Just beautiful artwork. Now when you look at it, you go, "Oh, wait a minute. There was something to this car." Very special. I saw a couple art group stickers outside, or one art group sticker outside. Any art group members in here? There we go. I'll ask you what your number is later. So the art group. There's a story about the art group in the book. Art group, outlaws. It all started, well, it's kind of a long story. You ever heard of a place called Easy, which is European Auto Salvage Yard? It's in Emeryville. Jim Brazil over there starts this thing up, and people start coming over on the weekends and hanging out on Saturdays at his little Mr. Coffee. It starts to become a thing. people start going over there and hanging out. And they start going, well, I want to put that part on my car, and I want to put that car on. And it starts this whole little outlaw hangout. People like, yeah, well, I want to change the exhaust. And Jim was like, oh, do this, do that. You know, he was having a good time, and he was making money. There's a whole story. I'm going to abbreviate the whole story because we don't have, but you'll read about it in the book. So one thing leads to another. It just starts growing and growing. And then, in Southern California, around the same time, Jeff Swart and his buddy Freeman Thomas, who they grew up together, Porsche designer, they start doing their own cars and coffee. And it goes from Crystal Cove, and then they've got it over at the Ford plant, or the Ford facility, and it's growing and growing and growing. And then a young editor-in-chief from Excellence Magazine hires a gentleman in this room. If you would stand up right here, I would like to, anybody in the art group needs to talk to this guy and thank David Coleman for what he did. Because he wrote the article about Easy and what was going on there. Freeman Thomas saw it in Los Angeles, read about it, connected with Chris Huergas, and that's what started the art group. And here's the guy right there. Yeah. Really cool. So great to have you here. And the thing was, so I go, there's so many so many stories about these guys. You don't know what's it's like folklore. You know, they're a bunch of badass guys. Or they're the greatest guys. They really are. But there was a previous book that was done about them. A lot of people don't agree with what was done with that book, so it became very hard to get to the nut of the story. It became a little difficult, but I got through it because I made it a mission when I found out that other people weren't pleased with what was written about them. I made it my mission to get the story right, and I hope that everybody finds it that way. It seems to have been accepted by everybody I know from the art group. So if you have a look, take a look at that. But let's take a look inside Easy. Easy. Once upon a time at Easy. Just this little shop. If you've been to, what's the shop over in Fantasy Junction? This is like 2 blocks away. Actually, two years from now, it'll be 50 years since Easy started. I think that I told them they better get started on their party. R group. Now you will see the R group. This is off a gentleman's car. They stopped doing this. That's his number, 747. Every R group member has a number. They stopped doing that, so they started putting it on the back. The way you become a member is you show up. You show up and you show up and you show up and you show up and you show up, and people start to find out who you are. And you've got a cool car. Well, that's a cool car, but who are you? They want to know who you are. What kind of person are you? Sure, we're outlaws, but if I call you at 2 o'clock in the morning and I'm broken down on the side of the road and I know you've got a trailer, are you going to come show up and pick me up? That's what they want to know. What type of person you really are. It's a vetting process, a lot like a motorcycle group, but they don't do the other stuff that the other groups do. Jim Brazil up there started Easy. I had the pleasure of shooting it Easy for 3 days while they were clearing it out at the very end, and that's what it looked like. We even pulled a few cars. These cars here were cars that were all built and restored out of parts and everything that came out of Easy, and we rolled them in there. The place is no longer Easy. It's no longer a parts place, a salvage yard. The gentleman that bought it, was it 4 or 5 years ago now, still allows them to have their cars and coffee the first Saturday of every month. If you've never been to Easy, go there. It's a great time. You'll see some very cool cars. This is Koichiro Kanda, who was the regional rep of the of Easy. He's now had to step down because of business things, and now Jim Brazil's son is running it. example of a really cool car, right hand, this was Chris Hatch's car. That car, the story behind that car before it became an outlaw was actually, it was on every continent and had 400,000 miles on it already before it got turned into an outlaw. There's just these amazing stories that come out of Easy in the art group. Really great people. And I dig their cars, obviously. So much so, this craze has come up to the point where now you have people building outlaws. Like, well, I could build that for you. And I could charge you an awful lot of money for it. And they become absolute masterpieces. You start to sit down with these people, the things that they've been designing are absolutely gorgeous. Rod Emery. Rod Emery, the son of Gary Emery, the gentleman who, this story has gone on so many times, the outlaw stories. Everybody know where that outlaw name came from? No. Okay. Gary Emery leaves Vasek Polak, starts his own little place called Parts Obsolete with leftover parts from Vasek, sells it to him, goes over there, and they start slapping on little bits and pieces. I'm going to put fog lights on the front of my 356 and make it look like a rally car. Oh, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And somebody walks up to the front and says, you know what? What are you doing back there? You guys can't do that. And Gary Emery looks at him and goes, we can do anything we want. We're outlaws. And that, from the mouth, that's where I get that story. That's where it all started. And boy, is he building some beautiful things. I had the opportunity to go to Rod's shop and work. If you ever have the opportunity to go in there on a day when they are working, do it. It's not like going through their cars and coffee. It is amazing to watch these people work. But I will tell you, if you go in there, bring your earplugs. In fact, don't even bother. They hand them to you as soon as they walk in. Because there is so much grinding, pounding, so much work. These people are like animals. It is flat out. It's like, oh my God, the decibels that are going on with these people working is something to see. That's right up in front of the shop. That's just one of the buildings that leads on from there. But he's an artisan, you know, so that whole Bakary came from, Kerry Morris gave him the name for the building. So you should have that. This is where we make all the little goods. That's what the little sign is outside. I spent the greater part of an afternoon in there with the family. And it's just, it's a family business that there's so much respect for what they're doing that you can't help respect them. I mean, they have so much respect for their craft and what they're doing that you're just, you know, you get soaked up and pulled up into it. What a great team.
Big family team, right?
Big family team. His wife's in charge. If you owe anybody money, you're going to have to talk to his wife. If you need a check cut, you have to talk to his wife.
Where are they located?
He's in North Hollywood, and he's about to move it out into the desert somewhere. Or out in...
Off Angeles Grass.
Yeah, someplace off... right. Singer. Look at Singer. Look what Singer has done. Talk about money and outlaws. Right? It just keeps going. I shot this for Evo magazine. That's Dickie... I say Dickie Betts, not Dickie Betts. It's Dickie Maiden driving behind the wheel. What they have done with Outlaws, they've brought these things. It just keeps leveling up. This is not something that's going to go away. This is all hot rodding, you know. And it just keeps getting better, keeps getting faster, keeps getting cooler. Then you have guys like Rob Ida who builds these amazing hot rods. What's he drive? A 356 or a 911 Turbo. Does amazing, incredible work. That 911 created quite a buzz at SEMA a few years ago. The way he glassed it, he came in and smoothed everything out, and a lot of people were like, "That's horrible." I was like, "Oh, that's Dean Jefferson heard the same thing." BC Moto, Kramer body, 1,100 horsepower. built in Ontario, California. There he is. He's an engineer, son of 2 doctors. Went to engineering school and started. He didn't have enough money to live on, so he started doing bracket racing in his Honda. And one thing led to another. And he kept going, well, what if I did a turbo in here? What if I did that? But that car is electric. Amazing stuff. The drivers. One of the top industrial designers of our time, Carl Gustav Magnuson, drives a 912 Outlaw. What he's done with this car is it's just amazing. And if you look up Carl, to this day he's driving this car at the Bernina Rally and all that stuff. He takes it all through Europe. He lives in Manhattan. The car goes back and forth between Manhattan and Europe. This is a guy that cut his teeth at with the Eames family. This is his design aesthetic that he was brought up with. He was the lead designer at Knoll Furniture for 35 years. And his car of choice is in fact, 30 years before this, I photographed a 356 that he had in Manhattan. And it had these loopers on the back, and I'm going, this is like a hot rod. What is this? And I'm looking at the leather, I'm like, that's where it turns out it's Spinny Beck leather. It's Carl Magnuson's car, and it just happens to be the very first car that Rod Emery ever built. We know this guy. If you don't know this guy, this is Magnus Walker and his dog Willow. The dog breaks my heart because it reminds me of a dog I used to have years ago. The dog and I really connected actually on the shoot. The dog was more interested in me than anything that Magnus wanted to do. But I do photography, right? So there's a little trick I had to do here. Now, if you'll notice the photograph of the portrait of the two of them are on 2 completely different planes, but they are both perfectly in focus. You'll notice the head lamp on the car on the left is out of focus. But meanwhile, Magnus is in focus. So I had to take multiple images, sometimes focusing on the dog, sometimes focusing on him, and then marrying the 2 together. Because it was impossible to get the 2 of them looking good in the same frame. So his car, he has several cars that are going to auction this weekend, I think. Gary Hootswood, another crazy designer guy, cinematographer, did the whole documentary on Helvetica. He did the documentary on Brian Eno. What's he drive? He drives an Outlaw. But this Outlaw is dedicated to, this is what I love. The car is dedicated, it says Braun on the front of it. The car is dedicated to Dieter Rams. Anybody know who Dieter Rams is? Braun shavers, Braun clocks, Braun radios, all that stuff. Dieter Rams was the industrial designer that did all that work. I'm a design freak, can you tell? This car, this is a close-up of his car. The car was in great shape. This is all done on purpose. Done by a shop out in New Jersey called ROCS, R-O-C-S. And he backdates and hand paints patina on things. It's just it's artwork that this guy's doing. Now this is David Keynes out of Southern California. Those louvers were not done at Rod Emery's. They were done at SoCal Speed Shop. And he's very proud of that. Now, if you look at this car and you know anything about hot rods, drag racing, you'll see that color combination there comes right off of a 55 gasser, quarter-mile car. You're like, why is that? Well, it turns out David's dad used to run Lions Drag Strip. And there's a tribute to it right there. He also drives a Beck 904 that he has all hot rodded up as well. It has a red nose on it. You've probably seen that car somewhere. And it's this hot rodder mentality. Are you catching the theme? I was brought up in Sunnyvale I moved there from Denver. And I was there from 63 to 70. The guy down the street had a a shoebox Ford that was jacked up in the front, set up like a gasser. And my brother drove a 58 Impala convertible, and my other brother had an old mail truck. We don't talk about him too much. But he was an outlaw. He was an outlaw musician himself. But there's this outlaw thing that happens in this hot rodding thing that is the theme, and it goes on from the when you look at a Porsche now and you start to think about where that came from, a brand new one that's in there. But each one of those cars is still a perfect open canvas to do whatever you want with, and these people are proving it to us. Patrick Long, what's he drive? And that thing sounds angry. Driving behind him down the road, pulling up to a stoplight and listening to that car. I'm not sure who built that motor, but man, it is screaming. Aubergine is the color. Very simple, but if you go through this car, it's typical hot rod. Hot rodders love to do things and make you look 10 times to figure it out. There's so many little things that are in the car. A real hot rod, you walk around and you go like, no, wait a minute, that's different. It's not blaring in your face. It's like, that's different. Of course, there's all kinds of hot rods, right? But I think the ones that kind of get me are the ones that make me just kind of go, huh. In fact, Rod Emery's grandfather worked at Valley Customs in Southern California, and they built one of the most iconic shoebox Fords ever built. In that car, instead of chopping the roof on the car, they left it alone. They sectioned the car. They took 6 inches out of the middle of the body of the car and sat it down. And then rebuilt the whole interior around it. That's creativity. That's subtle. That's cool. It's outlaw. This stuff's been going on. I didn't dream this up. I just happened to put it into a book. This guy's an outlaw. We all know Jeff Zwart. Drives cars sideways up Pikes Peak on a regular basis. He's nuts, you know? But he's an outlaw. He's a real, I've done several projects with Jeff where we do things where he comes in as a consultant with me and we work on, been doing stuff for Porsche Club of America hires me to do their annual design issue for the Panorama magazine, and Jeff and I work on that together. He's behind the scenes with me, working on location and getting the right cars and that sort of thing. But he's an outlaw through and through. Driving cars like this. Why not? Safari, do people think Safari cars are outlaws? Yeah. Well, a Porsche was out there doing rallies in those what was the code? 9591 or does anybody know the code? Dave knows the code. What's the
958.
Is it 958? That was 961 or something.
You talking about for the Dakar rally?
Yeah.
Yeah, 958
958?
or 53.
53?
958.
Something like that. So, yeah, in other words, they've been doing it for a long time. And then you have, this was another shoot I did. I'll work up to this thing. I was going to do too much. I drove all the way I didn't drive. I flew to Savannah and to shoot these cars. This is Jim Goodlett. He will take anything and drive it sideways, as he calls it. We happened to get this great opportunity to shoot in this facility. And we shot during the day, but I wanted to go back at night. I will tell you, unfortunately, we're at night, we're in there, and all of these cars are running. It's amazing I'm still alive. It's like, and then we did other angles and stuff like this. Was an assistant I had there. I didn't have it tall enough, because we did vertical shots, I didn't have a tall enough tripod, so we ended up jury rigging and duct taping the platform off the top of my tripod onto the ladder and setting everything up that way. Things you have to do to get the shot. There's Jim. The shot in the bottom right corner there, it looks like we're in the middle of nowhere, right? Well, this is the art of cropping. I'm literally, you see it in the middle shot there. It's the main artery that connects Savannah with this little island there. We're basically stopping traffic. We're up there. But does the other one go back? Does this one go back? You see, I made it look like we were in the middle of the Mojave Desert or something. Trick photographer. You can't trust those photographers. But we're basically stopping traffic on a Friday night. So Porsche's building these cars, right? And but then nobody's building. So they got a 959 or 958, whatever it is, and they go out and they do all this great stuff with those Rothman cars and stuff. And they do a Paris-Dakar, and they did the Trans-Siberia with the Cayennes, and Jeff Zwart was a driver and stuff like that. And so this is Joey Seeley, who's building. Porsche's now doing those Dakar cars. Joey was doing that before they came out with it. So Porsche's great at, like, they put something out there and then they see that somebody's doing something else with it and they go like, oh, that might be profitable for us as well. Maybe we should do that. But I will tell you that this car, Joey is the guy that builds all the suspension work, does all the suspension work for all of Jess Zwart's high-speed cars. So there's a lot of stuff under this thing that you're not going to find in other cars. That's his shop. This is actually Zwart's old garage down in Costa Mesa. I walk in there, I go, is this a spa? You ever walk into a hotel and they have those fragrances, right? You walk into a shop, it has that fragrance in the place. I said, is this a spa or a shop? What is it? But that's the way he does things. Everything's absolutely meticulous and spotless. Unlike this 924 Turbo that was built in the backyard and raced down it in Baja. I need a little fluids. Bear with me.
953.
953, thank you. 953. I missed the code.
Look it up.
Thank you. So this little, yeah, why not? I mean, it's an open, like I said, it's an open canvas. Do with it what you will, right? And have fun with it. This is all about freedom. It's all about expression. Drive the wheels off of it and have a good time. Now, there are other people that are naysayers. There are other people that will never, there's even a section in the book about a gentleman that would never think of doing anything but taking his car to Porsche for an oil change and putting all the recommended fluids and doing everything by the book. And that's one way you can live your life. But you don't have to. I'm encouraging them all to just go have a good time. So the big question is, now what? Is this going to die? Is this just a fad? I don't think so. With guys like Patrick Long, they've got an event going on in Tokyo this weekend. They're over there right now setting up this whole thing with all kinds of Porsche Outlaws and all kinds of race cars and all kinds of stuff. Patrick's just getting started. I sat down with him in Manhattan Beach when he was living down there years ago when he'd just done the first Luftgekühlt. And I don't know if anybody knows Patrick. Patrick carries a notebook with him all the time. He writes stuff down all the time. And he's been planning and planning and planning. And his stuff is not going to stop. Cameron Whalen up in Santa Rosa, California, known for what he does with air-cooled cars. That green steel-wheeled car right there, that's his. There's a young guy, his whole life is dedicated to air-cooled Porsches. It's not going away. This young gentleman went to business school. And when he went there, he started as a kid at a place called Scott's Independent. And he kept working at Scott's Independent. And it's one of the most relied upon shops down in, I believe in Anaheim. When I was in there, we had 3 of Seinfeld's cars that I couldn't photograph. Projects over in the corner. He's in his early 30s, and he bought Scott's Independent. And he is the next wave of who's going to be carrying the torch. If you don't know about him, you will know about him. Jade Emery, just like her father, who knows where every part is and where can go to any drawer and knows what's in it, she's following in his footsteps. She knows where everything is in that shop. And she can tell you if she can find the right one and bring it up and give it to you in a matter of moments. She's carrying that torch. Kayla Delahunt, the Porsche girl, the car girl, she does that. She's such a car enthusiast, but her main thing, you see her at like Formula One things, you see her IndyCar, you see her all these things. She's like that influencer thing. But her thing is put her in an old school outlaw Porsche, and she's happy. My wife asked me to put this in here. And it's just, this is from the latest design issue we did. And I just sat down next to this car designed by Grant Larson. Well, excuse me, isn't that an outlaw? The 935-19 built by Grant Larson is an outlaw. It's a tribute to a 935, yes, but it's such an outlaw. But the real point of this photograph is this. It's really easy to pose in front of a cool Porsche and think you're king of the world. In truth, I'm not. I'm just really super lucky to be able to do what I do. And I hope you've enjoyed this. And I hope maybe one day I can drive one of those cars that somebody's got up there. Thank you so much. Any questions? Yes, sir.
What do you drive?
What do I drive? Well, I got a 51 Ford with a flathead V8, tree on the tree, red headers, dual exhaust, and when I'm not driving that, when I'm on the road, I spend a great deal of time in a Ford F-150 with all my equipment in it. And the other time I pulled in here today with a BMW Clown Shield 3-liter. So, yes.
What was your first car? I'm sorry, was the 917 outlaw or just a race car? 917 Porsche.
Well, every race car's an outlaw. Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm not, you know, I didn't write the Bible yet, but you know, it's an outlaw. It's an outlaw of race cars.
Yeah.
How's that?
Fast car, yeah.
Yeah. How about a diplomatic answer for that one? Yes, sir.
What was your first car?
My first car, I was a musician. I'm happy to say that next month I celebrate 61 years of playing guitar. So I needed something to haul my stuff around. So when I did the book, Rockin' Garages, that was a question Tom would always ask these musicians. And they would always say, well, I needed something to move my gear. So mine was a 1973 Dodge Tradesman 100 van. It was top banana yellow with a 318 and a 4-barrel on it. And it was stocked for about a week. I had front sway bars, rear sway bars. I did all kinds of stuff. I outlawed the heck out of it. Yes.
Curious, going way back. The Emrys, way back when, put together a 356 whale's tail turbo. You know, it was quite a creation. Have you ever taken a picture of that car? It was up at McMinnville.
The yellow one? Or brown
I
one?
saw it was red. And when they brought it down to the paddock area to do the same.
Is it the one with the real fat body on it, and then
Yeah.
you can see the 356 underneath it?
Yeah.
I could go back, but it's actually in the corner in one of those shots. It's kind of sitting there. Yeah, amazing. It's like it's kind of like this, where you see that's a Turbo S underneath all that body flag.
Yeah, it's just
That's what it is. Yeah, it's got all this stuff. Anything else?
How'd you get into photography?
How did I get into photography? You know this story.
You're such a good-looking guy.
Yeah. All right, so snapshot. Who is Michael? What is he doing? I was a guitar player, singer. I was singing on a jingle in New York City for Chevrolet. Producer's wife walks in and goes, "Hey, you ever think about being in a commercial?" And I said, "Well, I'm in one. I'm singing one." She goes, "No, you like being in a commercial." So if my face looks familiar, I was the face of American Express, Coca-Cola, AT&T, Citibank, all the original things with Lexus, when the big Lexus came in, I was the guy behind the wheel driving things. I became a precision driver. I drove for Mercedes-Benz, BMW. They released things with the BMW Z8 with Pierce Brosnan. I was his driver. I would do the driving, then he'd step out of the car. I did the same thing for Charlie Sheen and stuff like that. Got into that whole world. So I found myself, my father gave me two things when I was 9 years old. He gave me a guitar and he gave me a camera. I've made a living with both of them. So when I was on set doing all these things with all these other people around the world, I was paying attention to composition, lighting, and all that sort of thing. And then I started to become a still life photographer, shooting little fragrance bottles, and I shot for Dunhill and Rochas of Paris and Anna Sui and Gucci. And then I started gathering a little bit of money, and I bought a 79 911 SC from Joe Jett's drummer. And he completely corrupted me. And here I am. So then I transitioned to photos. Instead of little tiny reflective things, I started shooting bigger reflective things. Yeah, so that's in a nutshell.
Absolutely. Yeah, so we spent a full day out at Bonneville Salt Flats with a Tucker replica and our Gyronaut land speed record motorcycle. And you spent the whole day photographing that and all of us with it. Incredible. The outtakes from that are just as good as the things that you see ending up in the magazines and whatnot. So an incredible photographer. You can, from your images, you can see and feel and smell and hear the noise that is going on behind the scenes there. It's just, you're just amazing. You capture it well. So, thank you again.